Talk about the stages of change, right? Because this is so important as you're going through your weight loss journey to recognize the real process of change. And again, in honor of International Women's Day, we're going to talk about Virginia Satir, who is not only a pioneer of family therapy, but she was actually one of the main role models that they used to create NLP, or linguistic programming. So I think understanding the stages of change is so helpful because most people have a very intuitively incorrect concept of change. They call it's kind of the straight line theory, right? That you're going to start your weight loss journey and you're just going to drop down weight until you get to your goal weight. And that's not really accurate. And if you expect that, that expectation is going to bump into reality and you're probably going to be really discouraged. So we want to have a more accurate understanding of what change really is. And it like it's in there somewhere. But I think through all the weight loss marketing, they always reinforce this straight line of success where you start your plan and just get down to your goal weight. And that's that. However, the reality is a much different process. And again, I think this and you'll be able to reference this against your own experience in life of changes you've created. And I can guarantee you through this as well. I've done over 5,000 private weight loss sessions. I've known this over 20 years. And the process of weight loss is usually not a straight line of success. It's usually, jaggedy and all over the place. And it's a trend line. It ends up getting where you want to go, but it's an adventure along the way. So if you understand that and expect that right from the beginning, you are set up for more success. Okay. So Virginia Tears starts by talking about the status quo, right? So we start our process of change and we start with what we've been doing. Okay. And it's important to understand that what we've been doing is really automated, right? We run our lives on autopilot. We're subconscious creatures. We're not consciously making decisions all day long about what we're going to eat and what we're going to do. We pretty much do what we did. We just follow our old programming. So that's a really important part of this process to understand, because if you just think you're some logical creature consciously making decisions all throughout the day, then weight loss should be easy, right? Because I'll just make new conscious decisions all the way. But you're not making conscious decisions all day long. You're kind of on autopilot to a certain degree. So we start the change process with a concept of status quo. My programming kind of allows me to do this normal thing I do. And this is what I do. And it's easy because it's pretty automated. It doesn't take a lot of effort. So all of a sudden what happens is you start creating the change, right? And so you say, I'm going to start a diet. I'm going to start weight loss. I'm going to start changing my eating. I'm going to add exercising in. And so here's what she refers to as the foreign element, right? It could be a decision we make. And sometimes it happens outside. All of a sudden, in life, something might happen to you. Okay. But we can make a decision as well. So the foreign element can be literally a decision we make, to change how we're living. And then what follows is a state of chaos. This is really important to understand. Just because you have a meal plan that you're going to follow, internally, it's a state of chaos because all of a sudden you are changing up the status quo. All of your automated programming isn't effective anymore. You're consciously trying to change everything you're doing. So it's a state of chaos. That's the word she used. And I love that word because isn't that what you feel when you start a weight loss plan, when you start to create some change? It's a disoriented state where you're trying to get your bearings because all of a sudden you're not on autopilot. You know what I mean? Now you're engaged. I use the example a lot of times of it's like if you went to a foreign country, you're on a trip that you've never been to before. It's exciting. It's an adventure. However, you have to think about absolutely everything. Right? You don't know where to get your coffee. You don't know where your paper. You don't know where to eat. You don't know any of the normal stuff. So you have to think about absolutely everything. And it's exhausting. It's tiring. And so we want to recognize this phase because a lot of people just assume I'm going to start the plan on day one and everything's fine. I'm just going to cut some food out. I'm missing the food a little bit, but that's the only problem. No, you're in a state of chaos. It's unusual. Your brain kind of freaks out a little bit because your brain is designed to maintain the status quo. Right? What's worked this long? Let's just keep it going that way. All right. But then what ends up happening if you stick in the chaos long enough, and this is why it's important to recognize this stage of chaos. If you're able to stay in this chaos stage long enough, she says there's a transforming idea that comes in. Okay. And this could be something that you just recognize in the ether. It could be just something that pops into your mind. But it pops in and it starts to make sense of the chaos and you start to make your way. And now all of a sudden you start to practice and integrate the new ideas and you start to reach a new status quo. Okay. So there's a status quo. She shows chaos as being blah, 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 all these crazy lines. Then there's that new idea we get. We start practicing integrating that. And then we hit a new status quo. Okay. But the new status quo is not a straight line. It's not a straight line of success. It is this wobbly, all over the place thing. But the secret is to stay in that chaos, because one of the things that does happen, and there's multiple ways that this transforming idea can come in, but one of the things that happens is that you have a part of your brain called the reticular activation system, and it basically controls your reality. It filters out from your reality what's not important and brings into your awareness what is. And so when you stay in this state of chaos for a period of time, it starts to train your brain. It orients your brain to figuring this out, because your brain doesn't like chaos at all. And so your brain is going to work on figuring out this new chaos and fixing it. And so you have to be okay with that feeling. And eventually what happens is the reticular activation system is it starts to orient to figuring out a way out of the chaos. And so you have to give this some time. You have to give this process some time to work. And once you find this new, transforming idea or strategy, you begin to feel less chaos. And now you go to work on implementing that. You feel a sense of groundedness again. And eventually what happens after you get the transforming idea and you go to work on integrating it and practicing it, again, then you gain some mastery over it. You hit that new status quo. But that's the process of change. It is not this neat and easy, path to success. There really are those moments of feeling completely upside down, topsy-turvy. And that's normal and natural. You've got to go through that process. Understand, true learning, you have to pass through a state of confusion, a state of chaos. That's what real learning is. If you're just doing something and you don't feel that, you're not actually learning anything new. And so as you orient yourself and understand this process, it sets you up to be prepared for it. Because if you're not prepared for it and you're expecting a simple line, again, when the chaos comes, it feels overwhelming, completely unprepared for it. Why did this happen? So keep this in mind when you want to create change. Anticipate the chaos. And what you can do to deal with the chaos is, again, that's why it's so important when you're looking to create change, to get the sleep, to relax, to drink your water, to nourish your body, to move more, because these things help you deal with the chaos phase more effectively and end up getting to that place where you find that new idea, integrate it, and get to that new level. So keep this in mind next time you want to create a change.